Good evening and welcome to a very sombre Alton O'Better's Berardi and Coke with just myself tonight, and I'm unfortunately with somebody who actually we were probably two of the more positive of the OKB members, weren't we, before the game tonight? But even so,
now.
I think even you and I expected a drumming tonight, but we're just the type of people that'll never back against Leeds United, regardless of what's going down. So yeah, look, let's get a bit of an intro played, and we'll get a bit into it. We've done something a little bit bizarre tonight, a little bit mental. We've actually put the link to join the podcast on the socials. So if anybody wants to join and give us a mouthful for being happy clappers, if that's what you want to call us, or too negative, then please feel free to fucking do so.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
Yes, good evening and welcome to, I'm not even sure what episode it is, but we'll just call it post. It's not even an episode, it's post, getting drummed again by the Scousers. So yeah, look, seven downs. It wasn't seven, was it? It finished six, didn't it?
Six.
Yeah, six. Come on, Brendan's ghost. Jesus Christ.
It's bad enough.
Yeah, so look, we went from a relatively strong performance, I'd say, against Scum for some parts, to starting relatively well tonight, Gilly. I know I said just in the intro there, like you and I are always on the positive side of Leeds United and tend to see more of the positives than we tend to do the negatives. But I mean, we didn't really expect anything different tonight, being realistic, did we?
No, I mean, like you say, if I think that we're going to get a drubbing, or I think it's going to be a close game, and I think we're going to get a draw, I'm going to go with a draw. I'm not going to go with an away win. So I think when it comes down to it,
an home win in this case.
Sorry, I mean the opponent. I'm not going to back the opponent.
I know what you meant.
So coming into this game, they had their strongest 11 out. They didn't even have to play Anderson. I mean, I know they rubbed it in bringing him on late on, but you look at us, we're missing our spine. You look at them, and they're playing probably their strongest 11 that they possibly could. And then you play into that the fact that they're an ESL team. Oh, we've got somebody joining in now.
Just get Samuel on and see
they're an ESL team, and they get them calls, and we don't.
Yeah, we've got somebody joining, so we'll let them have their say. We said we're going to do that tonight because there's a lot of chatter on Twitter and various other socials. So, Samuel, how are you doing, mate?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for coming on, mate. What do you make of that then, and what do you make of the current climate being a Leeds United fan? Obviously, a bit of a tough place to be at the moment.
I know, we don't know he is Leeds yet.
I am Leeds.
He is Leeds.
It's the accent that throws you.
Where are you from, Samuel?
I'm from South Coast. My family have supported Leeds since before even Revy, so it's been in my blood since I was born. Unfortunately, today.
Yeah. So, what's made you come on then tonight? What do you make of that? Are you and what side of the fence are you on, Sam? Actual. Let's start with that. In terms of obviously the main thing being thrown about tonight that certainly I don't agree with is the Bielsa out situation. Where do you sit on that fence and that argument?
We're not at a point where we can really get him out. Who are we going to get in? Steve Bruce, Sam Allardyce? Like, honestly, there's no one available who's going to do a better job. And you've got, I know we've been saying this all season. Every time it seems like someone's going to.
Oh, I think we lost you. We've lost you. We seem to have lost your signal there, Samuel. You're back. Here you go.
We're back.
Oh, sorry, that cut out.
Yeah, no. We obviously got hiding tonight. Did you expect any different?
Don't get me wrong. I was expecting about 8. So if
Right.
anything, it was better than my expectations. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's the results elsewhere. You're looking at Burnley, and you're starting to look at that table, and you're thinking, where are we going to pick up the points? You've got Spurs next, and you just know, being Leeds, they're going to lose to Burnley and fun plus 4-0. It's going to happen.
Yeah. I think that is the worrying point. That's where we're at. That is the worrying stage. We're at that worrying stage of the season where, what games around us, everything just seems to be going against us. We're getting pumped and we're getting beaten, and so yeah, I think we're in a spot of bother at the moment as it stands. And if we continue to get drummed, but as you quite rightly say, all these people that are saying Bielsa out, I'm having this argument over and over on Twitter, quite repetitive actually. Bielsa out, Bielsa's not good enough for us anymore. But at this stage of a Premier League season, in our second season back, who is going to come in and who's going to get even 70% of what Bielsa's getting out of that squad of players available to him? There is nobody, is there?
There's not. This is the issue at the end of the day. I mean, I don't want to be one of those fans who look up and say these were championship players 2 years ago. They've done this, they've done that. But then at the same time, that really is the case. Who's going to come in? Who's going to turn them into even better players than what they already are? No one is. And that's the problem. I think, to be honest, all we can do at this stage is just hope that somehow he manages to turn it round with players like KP coming back. Maybe the optimist in me saying that that'll do something decent to the side, but whether it does or not is to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's worth noting as well, the commentator spoke out earlier and he said, I forgot who it was actually, but he said, I don't know if you picked up on this, Gilly, actually not being in the chat groups and that earlier on. He said that this season alone so far, we've already used 8 teenagers. Last season, we didn't have to call on one. And we finished 9th. I think there's a little bit of a correlation there. There has to be. Gilly, you're a bit of a stat man. You like sort of numbers and figures and things. Would you say that is the predominant correlation as to why we're doing so poorly this season?
Well, I think you look at it and you've taken our goals out of the team from last season. We've always struggled ever since Bielsa got older. KP, we've always struggled when he's not been in the team, and we've lost his captain. We've taken a spine out of the side. Now, I'm sorry, you take Mane, Salah and Van Dijk out of their side, and what's that going to do to them? They're not going to be anywhere near as good, are they? So,
do you think Cooper's really that big of a change to our team, though? Do you think that Cooper's really...
I do. If you look at the players that we had out tonight, and where we had to end up playing Erling at centre-back, and we had Struijk in there as well. I think the leadership he brings, not necessarily his playing capability, because I think he's probably equivalent. He's been more important to us actually than any other centre back, I think, this season when he's played. But it's actually the way that he manages the players around him that would have made the biggest difference. I don't think he'd have had a material impact on the game today. But the Cooper and Calvin and Bamford taken out of the side, who's not going to struggle? I
think you're spot on. I think that's a great answer, Matt. I think another thing we miss with Cooper is his leadership. Erling is our vice captain, and whilst he's a relatively senior figure within the dressing room, I think we really do miss Cooper putting himself about. I mean, like as you rightly say, I don't expect that having Cooper in that side tonight would have made a difference in the scoreline. I do not, for 1 second, I don't think we deserve to win. I didn't expect to win. I'm not angry about the result. What I think that's really getting to me now is how quickly and how fickle some of the fans are turning, not only on our own players. It started with Roberts and a couple of other underperformers, underachievers, but it's now moved from, in fact, it started with Rads and then moved onto Roberts. Then it was Rads for not recruiting in the summer. Now it's Bielsa. I think that the thing that's really bugging me is these arguments that you're having with people and the explanations you're having to give is, who do we replace him with? How if you want to stay in the Premier League next, and we want to be playing in the Premier League next season, replacing Marcelo Bielsa is not the answer for me. And it's as simple as that.
I agree.
I mean, a question on being asked a lot, obviously, I'm down south, so I get as much of the grief as anyone else. Part of me is starting to think that burnout might not be such a myth when it's coming to the injuries that we have got this season. I am starting to think, Are they getting to a point with the likes of Ayling, the likes of Calvin, the likes of Bamford, some of them who've put in the most legwork over the last few seasons? Is this style of play going to get to a point where if he is, say we do stay up and we are here next season, is this just going to happen all over again?
Good. It's a great point, and it's one thing that probably hasn't been mentioned because we're not even got to that stage of the season yet to be in the burnout section of the season, the burnout area. So yeah, look, I think potentially we've got a lot of we seem to have been having quite a lot of similar injuries as well, Samuel, in hamstrings and certainly muscular type injuries. So yeah, look, it could well be. We've just got somebody else joining us now, Samuel. So thanks ever so much for your time for joining, mate. We're just going to let somebody else jump on now. Yeah, take care.
Cheers, Samuel.
Cheers. We've got joining us now, LUFC Barbecue. Who looks very happy. Come on, LUFC Barbecue. What we got on the barbecue tonight? Are you pro Bielsa or are you? Let's replace him with Lucas the Copcat Bielsa.
I really don't know. Yeah. I mean, grateful for everything he's done for us. He's got us here, but Jesus Christ, it's gone wrong the last few weeks. I mean, his love affair with Tyler Roberts is just, no one understands it bar him.
They're not the views of the pod, by the way. The love affair. They are the views of LUFC Barbecue. What's your name? Sorry, LUFC Barbecue.
Nick.
Nick, cheers for coming on, Nick. So I think the main topic of conversation tonight isn't the performance. We all expect. Well, did you expect a drumming? Did you expect us to be beat 6-0 tonight?
Yeah, I said. The wife asked me what I was up to tonight. I said I'm going to watch Leeds get thrashed by Liverpool, but I didn't. I wasn't anticipating 6.
Right. Yeah. See, I pretty much did expect that, but even in the predictions league that we do on OKB, I still tried avoiding that. I still went for a 2-2 draw because the optimist in me says I can't back against Leeds. So where do you see things turning around? I mean, in terms of the performance tonight, look, there was nothing positive really. Maybe in the first 10-15 minutes, had we been given that early penalty, we might have had a different say on the game, but ultimately, I don't think it'd have had any change on the outcome, would it? Let's be honest. They're a class above. They're in the same league as City. They're a 2-horse race this season, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I'd agree with that. It's just, give him his due. He got us here, didn't he? And for the last 3 years, we've had so many square pegs in round holes, but we got away with it in the Championship. You can't make substitutions like he does and change 4 players' positions like we did at the weekend against United at the weekend. To accommodate one player, he shifts 4 people about, and you just left scratching your head. I mean, I know the guy's a genius, but some of it is. He doesn't help us by
I think it's spot on
that we go to Anfield and play like that.
You're never going to make things easy for yourself when you go into one of the top clubs at the moment in the league, and as you say, look, rather than bringing in Cresswell, who's a ready-made centre back, albeit he's just coming back from injury and everything as well, but he's a ready-made centre back. We've actually moved 3 players around in there to accommodate. Ayling moving to centre back, Dallas going to right back, and it just makes life difficult. And you can probably see the players just want a little bit of stability as well, and maybe that's rubbing off on the players. Maybe that's something that maybe that's Bielsa's naivety. I don't know what the answer is, but where do you see things turning around, and where are we going to finish this year?
Yeah. Well,
get your neck on the line. Come on, don't get off that.
You don't think we're going down? Do you think we're going down? Come on, Nick. You don't think we're going down? Come on.
I mean, that's like if we continue playing like we are, yes. I mean,
do you really?
Christ Almighty, Burnley have beat Spurs tonight. You can
So,
guarantee Spurs.
I get what you're saying. Honestly, I get what you're saying there. But you look at the table and who's below us. But also, we're on track. Apparently, you don't know until we're getting back. But we're on track for Calvin and Cooper to come back in for March. So if you've got those players back in March and April, I don't think, because we've played Liverpool now. We've played the scum now. Yeah. We're not going to be playing ESL sides week in, week out that are getting all of the decisions and have got billions of pounds to spend on the squads. We're going to be playing sides that don't have that sort of capability. We're going to be playing Norwich's. I genuinely, we get them back in the side, and I'm still all right. I don't think we're going to be finishing 9th, no. But I think 14th is realistic.
Yeah. I mean, I take with a pinch of salt that they'll be back in March, quite frankly, because we've been waiting since August, September for all these players to come back and they break down again, or Jesus Christ. I mean, I know we all have this persecution complex and it only happens to Leeds, but we get Bamford back, he scores a goal and pulls his bloody hamstring celebrating. I mean, it's Frank Spencer-ish, if you guys are old enough to remember. Some
just
do have.
Betty!
That's the one.
It's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I've supported them since 75, so I've had decades of disappointment interspersed occasionally.
Well, to be fair, if you started supporting him in 75, you were really setting yourself up from the start there,
well,
weren't you?
Exactly. I was just that little bit too young to have missed the real, the heyday of Reeve and everything. So started supporting them in 75, lost the final, and, other than Wilco and 91, 92 and coming up from the championship, etc. It's been, I did enjoy the O'Leary years, maybe a bit controversial given everything how it ended up, but, it's, I don't know, it's a cross to bear being a Leeds fan, isn't it? But,
it is.
Well, it is.
Right.
We know it.
Yeah. Right, we're going to move on very quickly. Thanks for popping on, mate. Well,
No
we really
worries.
appreciate it. We've just got somebody else who wants to jump on.
Nick.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Cool.
Bye, bye. Before we get Rutch on, just really quickly, Gilly, we've not really heard your views on the game. So before I just get Rutch on, I just want to, I mean, not particularly on the game, but I suppose on. You've probably been on Twitter and had a flick on Twitter, and you've seen that the fans are at each other's throats all over social media.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on after a result like you and I expected? That probably 99% of the fan base expected. Is that where the problem lies? Because we expected to get beat, or do you think it's because we, are we entitled as a fan base? Do you know what I mean?
I think I get where you're coming from. So, I mean, the entitlement of the ESL clubs sickens me. It genuinely does. So I don't ever want us to fall into that. But I do remember saying at the end of last season when we finished 9th, actually, that's one of the worst things that could have happened to us. I know that we got a bit of extra money in it. We're a bit of kudos finishing top half. But then everybody's expecting us to qualify for Europe. Well, if you finish below 9th, then it's a shit season, and we've gone backwards. It's like, we've just massively overachieved in a really, really weird season when there's been no crowds in stadiums for long stretches of it and all of that stuff going off. I think what you needed to do was look at that season in isolation, and then this season is a more normal season, and we've got to look at it in an entirely different way. As you said, we didn't expect to get anything tonight. I think it would have been madness to have expected to go to their place and expect to get anything. And that was typified by the Dan James decision. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to go, yeah, well, that wouldn't have made much of a difference. It was 6-0. But at 0-0, that's a big deal. And then I don't think the penalties the other side, I think that you can argue that there were penalties. I don't think they would have been given to us. Is my bugbear around it. I don't think we'd have got them at Anfield. So when you break it down that way, I mean, I certainly don't think it was a 6-0 game. I don't think they were that good. I think they were better than we were, and I don't think you can get away from saying that. I genuinely, they were a better team than us. But I think 2 or 3 goals in it is about right. saying 6 goals in it is just that
I think
that way.
I think
crazy.
I think it was 3-0 up until about the 60th minute, wasn't it? Anyway, and
Yeah.
I think the game was. I mean, it was open. It's always going to be open with the team that we've got, and players out. We've not got our strongest players out there, and whatever else. But yeah, look, it's one of those, isn't it? Let's get.
Look, I'm reliably informed. Rutch is waiting for a dessert, so let's get him in.
Oh, Rutch!
Is it a dessert or is it a pudding?
I've had my pudding, Matt. It arrived on here.
Excellent.
How are you doing?
Not great.
Not great. So,
I
don't
abandoned
think
watching
anyone's-
a rugby league game so I could watch that, and then it went very much downhill.
Oh dear. So in terms of first things first, then the result. Did you expect it?
I expected us to lose. I thought maybe
Yeah.
4. 4 would have been good for me.
That would have been good. So when we saw the 6th going or flash up on your phone or whatever, did that
I
make you
gave up
feel
after
any
5.
worse? Or did you?
At that
watch the last
point, it
one?
was just laughable, to be honest.
Yeah.
We defend like a sieve, and it doesn't matter.
Oh, that's a podcast throwback. Is that one? That's what
It is.
that's what Smarter used to refer to Liam Cooper as, and I tell you what, he'd have him back now.
I'd happily have Cooper in out. I've
So where's-
given up on Ailing, to be honest.
Where's
Especially
that?
as a centre-back.
Where's our biggest problems then, Rutch? Where do they lie? Obviously, defensively. Obviously, we're not scoring as many as we're conceding, which is, it's quite obvious where the problems are. But where do you see the underlying issue? Where I suppose the question I'm asking is, do you think it's Bielsa?
Yeah, slightly. I think he's too stuck with the man marking, which, I mean, you saw, was it the second goal when Matip just ran through the entire team, second or third?
Yeah.
It's just...
And Van Dijk's
You
last
don't-
goal. Did you actually see the 6th goal?
Oh, no, I
I
turned it
didn't.
off. I turned it off when I saw
No,
the
we
fifth.
just gave him the freedom of our penalty area, and he's 6'4", and he just walked in and nodded it in. Why not? You got that?
But yeah, the Matip goal just... You don't see centre-backs go through teams like Burnley or Watford like that. So
No, they get cleaned out in midfield.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about...
Yeah.
Like, people say it'd be the quality of the player, but to me, Burnley have a lesser quality of player than we do.
Yeah.
You don't see them get...
Would you rather play a Sean Dyche type of football every week and have to watch Sean Dyche football then, or this is a
I
question?
think we might have lost Rutch now.
Was he gone? Okay, we'll just move.
Either
into
that or he's
the,
sitting very still.
Is that me? My internet might be...
I was back.
Oh, you're
He's
back. You're back.
Right, cool. What were you saying, Luke?
So the question I've got for you is: would you rather watch a Sean Dyche type football every week, or a Leeds United type football every week, and potentially lose 6-0, or potentially scrape a 1-0 victory and watch a Dyche football?
But it's not... It doesn't have to be that either or.
No, that was your comparison.
Yeah, but I don't
It's an
know why
even bit.
Bielsa can't take parts of that and go more zonal with his marking.
Well, he did. He did towards the end of last season, if you
Yeah,
remember.
and it worked. And it
but
worked.
the reason it hasn't this season is because we've drafted in 8 teenagers to represent the first team this season, in comparison to 0 last season.
Yeah, the reason I don't think we go down is because of the injuries. I think the injuries come back and that's enough to keep us up.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean,
What,
I
you think having better players available means that we're going to get better results? I mean, this is just madness. I can't believe this.
Can somebody try and tell 99% of Twitter that we don't actually understand what football means? But look, I think the most upsetting thing for me after I mentioned it earlier for me is the attitude. A lot of the attitude in some of the players just wasn't. Rafinha's looked absolute dog shit since he's come back from international.
Since he got married, isn't it?
Yeah, I seen a rumour the other day that he turned up pissed the day before the.
Yeah, I don't set any credence in that though, because I don't think we'd have seen him in a Leeds shirt again if he did that.
Yeah,
I think
I
you're
don't
right.
think he'd be in the 23s until the summer.
Until we
when he
sold him
just
for
gets
5
up,
million.
so,
Yeah. So yeah, I think the thing that's upsetting me more is that unity that we had, and the fans that were all over Twitter saying that we have to get a statue of Bielsa put outside Ellen Road, like only a few months ago, less than a year ago, when we finished 9th in the Premier League, or when we got promoted. You know, these fans are now turning on one another and are actually getting quite nasty toward one another based on their own belief, not based on the club's belief, because the club are going to do everything they want their way, no matter what. We're never going to be able to change that as fans. Yes, we can be part of, the fans' trust and have our say that way. But ultimately, what we say on Twitter is never going to change the way that our football club's ever going to be run.
No.
And no matter what we say, because we can argue amongst ourselves as much as we want, and there'll be nobody will ever be actually spot on and right. I mean, one of the comments I almost put on Twitter earlier, which I actually deleted a couple of times and then rewrote and then deleted again because I just couldn't be asked with people, was I wish I'd known as much as the Leeds fan base did about this season, last season, because they all seem to know what was going to happen, that we're all going to need 10 midfielders this season because we're all going to have that many injuries. But I deleted that because, look, I thought it wasn't fair, and some people actually do believe that they can see to the future. So, So yeah, I mean, it's just frustrating for me because, look, I've got a lot of time for, you bump into anybody in the street, and if you could be on holiday, you see a Leeds towel, you can see a Leeds shirt, and one thing we pride ourselves on is being Leeds, and being marching on together and being one and believing in each other and that. But I don't know if it's a new age of entitlement or a new type of football fan that it's just completely doesn't feel like that at all.
I think it's just football fans have always been fickle. When
I agree with that.
You're going to
Are there any positives we can take out of the last two games? Anything at all?
I thought
changes the game. That's the only thing I can say.
Did he change the game tonight, Rutch?
I thought we looked better for a period of time as soon as he came on.
I think we're putting a lot of pressure on him to come on and change the game every time.
That period of time was like right before I turned off, so God But I think again in the game on what day was it? Sunday. That second half, as soon as he came on, you could see the difference he made.
I think you're right, and I think the only positivity is to take out in terms of certainly against Scum was they did seem to want to play for each other. They were putting the foot in. There was some real, it was a proper grudge match type game, wasn't it? And
today's you can see that the worst. Today's the worst I've seen Dallas play in a very long time.
Oh, I think that's harsh as well, because I think as soon as he went into midfield, we looked better.
Again, that was in the second half.
Imagine him playing in his old position.
It's craziness, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely bonkers.
First half, I thought he was absolutely dreadful, but that's just me.
Yeah, Bremner's ghost come up with a good point. No major injuries come out of it, other than obviously Cox's head injury, which puts him out for 10 days. Concussion. So that's a positive, I suppose. And
I thought Strike were going to get injured when Trent went and booted that ball at his head.
Yeah.
He's lucky his ponytail didn't come out again.
So have you been on Twitter yet, Rutch, since after the game? Have you bothered?
Oh no, I have a rule that I don't go on Twitter after a loss.
I'm just looking at I've got my Twitter open here. I'm just looking at my notifications, 20+, and every time I go on and I read a few, it's still at 20+. So I must have fucking hundreds because I've been arguing.
Yeah, I just decide the moment we lose, it's not worth it, especially not after a 6-0.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the thing is, in terms of the actual performance itself, as Matt said earlier, the penalty that wasn't ever given, the two soft penalties gone the either way, Matip strolling through like a knife through butter, they were all relatively avoidable things and things that could have maybe made the first half a little bit more uncomfortable for Liverpool. I still think they had enough class, and I still think they would have done a job on us. I think they'd have still got beaten handsomely by a couple of goals, but at the very least. But yeah, look, it's a learning curve, and I think we need to, as a fan base, we need to appreciate and understand that We aren't a European superpower. We aren't a club that's competing for the Premier League this season. Nor will we be for a few seasons. And just to sort of, I don't know if you heard what Matt said, just to touch on what he said, finishing 9th last season, having such a strong season, our first season back, could actually have been one of the worst things that's happened to us in terms of the fan base. Not in terms of the club.
As a fan base, I think it just got everyone's expectations too high.
Yeah, spot on. I think you're bang on there. So where do we finish this season then, Rutch? And how do we turn it around? Where we're going to turn the key?
15th or 14th or 15th, and I would just say whenever I think Calvin and Cooper are our main two, because I don't see Bamford coming and back in and getting at least a decent run of games before the end of the season. So it's Calvin and Cooper are the two for me. And when they come back in, I hope it just gives us some stability and some. Well, Coops will give us the leadership at the back, which it just looks dire, to be honest.
Calvin also, it's nips out danger as well. He's so good at. I mean, they're both good at reading the game, but Calvin is so good at reading the game and being in the right place. When he was playing in the attacking midfield, I always worried that he didn't have enough pace. I mean, he was playing alongside Mulwit, so he looked quite quick at some points. But he doesn't need pace at defensive centre mid because he's so good at being in the right place at the right time, and we really miss that. Forshaw gives a bit of that, but we need them both. We really do.
I agree. I think we need the Forshaw, Calvin, and Dallas midfield for me. Just some form of stability in the midfield again. It's that word is we haven't had any stability in the squad this season.
That's right, and it's not just the stability in the squad. It's the spine. It's almost the most important 3 players in the squad. You've got your club captain at the heart of the centre backs. You got KP was the heart of your centre midfield, and then you've got Patrick Bamford who was leading our defence in pressing from the front last season. So look, I can appreciate how difficult it is, and I think we just need to try and stay as calm as we possibly can as a fan base. It's
not going to happen though, is it?
No, that's the challenge.
Tell me how that's not a pen. Tell me how that's not.
The argument. This is coming from Leeds fans.
If he's wearing a red shirt, it's a penalty.
The argument is coming from Leeds fans that in that challenge, Alisson had already stood on the ball, so the ball had gone from Alisson, but Alisson's feet is still up by his knee, and he's still. That's a penalty.
Now, do you know what really gets me here is if any Liverpool fan tells anybody else that's not a penalty, but you know full well they cried proper tears when Van Dijk got injured.
Now, look who's come
on Dallas.
We've had a comment. I wonder if this is our Simon Johnson. I'm guessing it is actually. Phillips is the biggest miss, steal, passing range, etc. We will get through the season, no problem. And next season will be a different proposition. I think so. I think you're right, Simon. Do you think, Simon, just while you're in the comments, do you think Bielsa stays if we stay up or go down, or do you think he's had enough of Leeds fans pretty much?
I think he retires.
You think he retires
from everything? I think he retires from everything, from football in general. Yeah.
Didn't he move his missus over here only recently?
Yeah. Bought a house in Weatherby, I think.
See, but when we're going through another tough patch
I think
the season,
he might go and have some form of role at Newell's, but I don't think he keeps going with management. See, when we were having a bit of a rough patch earlier on in the season, I had a feeling that he'd leave. I had a premonition, and I had a feeling. I think I said it. I texted it to you, Matt. Actually, I said we will stay up. Bielsa will go at the end of the season, but it'll stay at the club in some capacity. Now, whether that's as a coach or a director of football or something, just some form of capacity around the club to keep that Bielsa style at the club. For at least the next season. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess if I was Bielsa, would I really want to be staying at a club like that'll turn on him on a sixpence so quickly? It's difficult, isn't it?
the amount of fans who were praising him only a matter of months ago to now that have turned and said he's the problem. It's just it's quite sickening, and it's made me actually appreciate that there's not that many actual sensible Leeds fans out there as well. To be fair,
That's a good point.
Gilly, has that changed anything on where you think we might finish this season, or how we might do based on tonight?
No. Tonight was never for me. I mean, if we did somehow come away with 3 points, I'd have thought, we might finish 12th. But I thought we were going to lose. I thought we were going to lose quite badly. Somebody said to me just before kick-off, "Can we just take the 3-0 now?" I would have done. I would have taken it because I was expecting us to get beat. On balance of the actual game, like I said before, I think it were only a 2 or 3 goal game. I didn't think there were anything like worth 6. So I think from my perspective, I still think 14th is more than achievable. I think if you look at the sides that are around us, I mean, this is really bad to say. It's not that we're good; it's that they're even worse. But they are even worse, and that's still a fact. So. I'll take it.
I think now, though. I mean, Norwich have been getting a bit of form. We've got Burnley in a bit of form. Newcastle, the teams that we're flogging. We're on free fall. We've got teams like Brentford that
drop massively. We've got
Brentford now dropping like a stone.
Watford got hammered again tonight, didn't they? 4-1, I think.
We've got 2 or 3 games,
Palace.
maybe 2 games in hand on Brentford, but they were only like a point, maybe a point or 2 ahead of us. So.
We've only 1 game in hand now because tonight was one of our games in hand.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So we're a point behind them and a game behind them, and that's Spurs at the weekend. And as we know, we're in London.
No, it's Villa, isn't it?
Well,
it's Villa
our next game
Thursday
is Spurs.
We're in London. That's the fucking difference.
Oh, great. Yeah, we're in London, aren't we? But Spurs is at home, isn't it?
Yeah, Spurs is at home.
It is.
So we're not in London.
ESL club.
Simon's just popped on. We're speaking
go.
about Bielsa staying and leaving. He just said he thinks he's too thick-skinned and too experienced to move on because of the fans. I hope he stays on unless we can attract his top name. Anyone else will be a backward step move for me. I think he's spot on with that. Look, there's all these fans at the moment that are saying we need to replace Bielsa. He's the problem. He's the issue. And the question I'm asking is with who? And nobody's got a sensible answer. The only answer
Look at that. Mind the gap, Thomas Frank. You could end up with a Thomas Frank. I mean, this is scary as shit. Give it Big Sam till end of the season. Get fucked off. We're staying with Bielsa.
Give it Rodriguez to the end of the season.
Rather that than his brother.
Give it Coburn. That'll be the new one.
Yeah, and again, look, everyone seems to know what's best and things moving forward. But I think Simon's spot on. Anyone else is a backwards move. And as a club, if we are going to progress, we've got to progress in the right way. I just think, Michael, and we've just got somebody trying to join here. Michael, if you can hear me, we don't have any devices connected, so we can't add you to the chat. You need to add either a microphone or a microphone and a speaker. Camera. Sorry.
There we go. Just on the comments that we had earlier on around players and whether we're going to get them back again. So I don't know if you've ever looked, but there are injury tables. It used to be on Physio Room, but it's moved across to Premier Injuries. So the comments against Cooper and Phillips continue their normal processes. The objective is they get to March available. The medical calculation was 12 weeks, and that's not changed. Now that update expects them to be back on the 5th of March. So that's the first game in March. So, we're in a position where the coaching staff have been working on them for, 10 weeks and are confident that 12 weeks is when they're going to return. Now, I get the pessimism around the fact, we got Bamford back and then he instantly got injured again. Well, any player can get injured at any point. You look at what happened with Cock and Llorente at the weekend. We didn't go into that game. None of that is anything to do with the style of play, the style of training, any of that. Cock got injured because he had an opponent that didn't give a shit about him and bust his head open. You can't put that down to anything other than that's football. Sometimes players get injured.
That's it. Fair point. Right, Rutch, Michael's here now. We're going to have to throw you out so we can get Michael in for a chat. Thanks ever so much, mate.
Cheers, Rutch.
Keep on with the Wordle, won't you? And happy birthday.
And congratulations.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, it wasn't your birthday, was it? It was congratulations. Bye.
No, it's not my birthday.
Michael, how you doing, mate? All right?
Hello, lads. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Hey, so where are you? Where are you from?
Well, you can hear my accent. It's not Yorkshire, although half of us are from Yorkshire. So my uncle and aunt from Wakefield. My cousins grew up in Wakefield, and basically that's where they were leaving Leeds now.
He's got a Wakey shirt on. Dirtbag.
So I assuming you're coming on. You're not a Liverpool fan or even worse, a Scum fan or anything like that.
No,
Good, yeah, good. I thought I'd check first. So you just come on just to have a bit of a chat and tell us where did we go wrong? Did you expect any different tonight?
I didn't. I was just going to be a bit of a positive, but not one of those annoyingly positive ones.
Happy clappers. I keep getting called.
I'm not. I remember when, we were struggling, and these are like times that I can't ever compare. And 16 years is a long time. So if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see my other team is Barnet, which is like, my real suffering is going with Barnet, and then you've got Leeds, my big team. But I mean, I don't think it's Bielsa's fault. I think it's Orta and Rads. And I read somewhere, and my father-in-law's a Leeds fan, as he said to me, he thinks it's this 49ers thing, and he works in like, I won't say where he works, but he had some kind of knowledge and said to me that this deal that we've sold a bit of a stake to 49ers, I know that Rad wants to sell his full share and stuff like that, and apparently we have to show some sort of equity and profit in the club, so that's probably one of the reasons why we didn't spend so much in Jan. So he's too loyal, isn't he? He's too loyal to the players. He's got an amazing knack of developing players. I mean, do you remember the World Cup 2002 when he had Pochettino centre back, and who else did he have? I'm thinking, my mind's gone blank, but it was 1-0 England.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but it's funny you should say that, actually, Michael. We've not really had anybody mention the ownership. The arguments I've seen online have predominantly been around Marcelo, and I hadn't really given food for thought really around Rads and the deal that he struck with the 49ers. So it's really interesting that you've come up with that from another angle, and that potentially a family member might have heard or said something along the grapevine. But that would make a lot of sense. Yeah. That would make a lot of sense as to why we didn't sign anybody in January. But not only why we didn't sign anybody, but why we certainly didn't sign anybody on loan. Because if they came in and didn't play for us, they would just be an outgoing finance for no particular reason. Now, if the club, if the senior management team have sat down at a club and said, right, we need to finish so and so position, we've got this player for each position, and they've thought, actually, even including the under 23s, we're in a position whereby we're going to be comfortable in every position. There's no need to bring. As a fan, it's frustrating because we want to see progression. But if they're showing a balance in every position, then why would we? Why the additional outgoings? Why would they risk that? So yeah, it's certainly interesting perspective. I don't know. Had you even considered that, Gilly?
There's a couple. So I follow that Kieran on the Prior to Football, and there's all sorts of various different takes you can have on it. I think from a position of the way that the club has positioned the shares and the way that they've taken the approach is they are in a position where they can move those shares on, and it wouldn't need anybody outside of Rads to be able to have input as to where they went. So I think that we're in a position where that those deals could happen. I don't think it necessarily happens at the end of this season. I really don't. So I mean, it could. Who can say it could? I think Rads is looking, and fair play to him, because he's put himself in this position with our club. He's done what he needed to do to get our club to a position where he can maximise his income. And I think that based on that, he'll look to keep it maybe another season on the basis that will maximise his profits. because I think that, in terms of how solvent we are, that'll be even better after another season in the Premier League. And the more seasons we spend in the Premier League, you look at Villa, they're a season ahead of us, and the amount of money. I mean, I know they had a big deal where City threw 100 million at them, but they're in a position where they're able to maximise their spending capability, and that's what we are looking to do. Rads has always said that he's looking to follow a Leicester model. And that does mean selling some of your big players at that point, but bringing in 2 people that can replace them, and then looking at that as a squad game. Now, that approach that Leicester have taken there is kind of at odds with what Bielsa wants to do. So at some point, something is going to go either Bielsa's way or Rad's way. Now, that's the owner against a very, very strong-willed coach. And the way that goes will be interesting.
You can see where the difficulty lies, though, with the input from. I'm not entirely sure it's the total amount of equity that the 49ers investments own, but you can see where the difficulty lies. That if, say, for instance, Rads or Orta want to go out and sign a player to strengthen the midfield, how many people have to be involved in that decision now?
Well, you've got the agent's fees. Years ago, I didn't realise that even when the player leaves, you have to pay up the full contract, even if they're getting a new contract and signing on bonus at the next club. So these are all factored into the transfer budget, and that's why you see, like West Brom did last season, and Big Sam just got loads of players in on loan because it was all coming out of wages and that kind of transfer budget. And go on.
Go on. Sorry, you're all right. I'm just really quickly.
200 mil is a big outlay from Rads, and he probably wants a bit of a return on it. I mean, he probably won't get it if he waits 10 years or whatever. And you can understand why the balance sheet work has to show that, we've got equity in the club, and we have spent on Rodrigo and Raf. And I know they're not the biggest signings compared to, Grealish at City and stuff like that. But they've got to kind of just be a bit steady. And I'm sure they've said to Bielsa, is there someone you desperately want? And, he probably is so loyal that he'd probably rather develop everyone and have someone for a year, 2 years, knows, his system.
I think you're spot on. And I still think had we looked even into, I mean, somebody mentioned earlier on was Van der Beek. We were offered Van der Beek, I think somebody said in one of the chats earlier. And I was like, well, there's a lot of differentials here that we've got to think about. Does he want to come to the club? Is Marcelo Bielsa going to play somebody who wasn't fancied by 2 managers at Scum? And is he going to play him over somebody who's been brought into the club and been playing his way, i.e. Lewis Bate? Or, is he going to be played over him? The realism is that, no, you're quite right and spot on that. But Bielsa would be too... it'd be too loyal to Bate to play somebody over him. So it would have been potentially a waste of funds. And Simon just mentioned, I know we just spoke about clubs and stuff there and owners, but the owners they're not Leeds, they weren't brought up as Leeds United fans. They're in it for money. And it's a business to them. So we've all got to appreciate that at the end of the day. I don't know if there's anything else. Where do you see us finishing, Michael, and where do you see the real turning point for us this season?
I'll be happy with 16th, 15th, and I know that's just as a one-off. It's not where we want to stay, but that stability it will give us. Because look at Sheffield last year; they had the mayor and they went down, and they're 6th or 7th for most of the season before, and that was a bit like where we were, give or take 10th, whatever we were, and. It was inevitable. If you're not going to reinforce, if you stand still, you're in the back of the, you're back of the queue, really. Like, you're getting pegged back by the rest. Because look at Newcastle, they've improved, and all the clubs that would be our direct rivals in that sense, as much as I hate to say that, have improved a lot. It's
a fair point. And you look at where Sheffield United are now, and they're a million miles away. They're skirting around the playoffs. They're not pushing for promotion. No. It's looking like they're about to drop out of playoffs. So it's a good comparison to make, and the dangers of looking at the previous season and the success we've had. We've got to play a bit of balance into that.
Yeah, 100%. And didn't they go out and they bought that Liverpool striker and he didn't work out? Was it a Liverpool striker that
Brewster?
They bought? And
Brewster, yeah.
So
Yeah, I think they spent 50 million on 2 forwards. Didn't they score 1 goal between them?
Yeah, was it Brewster and it was the other lad, wasn't it? The Ollie McBurney, was it?
I think so. Is he from
McBurney?
Brentford? No, I can't remember now.
I remember, but I'm going to have a look now. They signed 2 up front, didn't they? And they had hardly any impacted at all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and it was a big outlay.
But yeah, it's certainly an interesting perspective, and I hadn't really considered, actually, to be fair, with regard to where we, with us standing still. But do you think there's been a massive? We touched upon it, Michael. I don't know if you heard really earlier, but do you think there's a common denominator in this season as to why we've been so? I don't want to say poor, but so. Yeah, poor. Why we've been so poor in comparison to last season. And I think that's the only way of describing it, because we're playing the same style. We've got predominantly the same squad. We've got the same coaching team. What we let 4 senior players go at the end of last season. We signed 3 senior players. So where's the common denominator, do you think? And is it as easy to see as what we think?
We've lost him.
Michael? You there, Michael?
Looks like he's gone.
I think he's messing around with his.
I think we've lost him, haven't we? Sounded like a mic issue, didn't he? More than it was.
Can you hear me?
Oh, he's back. Yeah, we go. Yeah.
You guys.
No, we're still struggling a bit. Just while he's struggling with that, I just want to pop that up and go. That's Ace. Chelsea. Is
that true?
I can see it happening. I've not seen it anywhere, but I can see it happening.
God, yeah, can you imagine? Yeah. I think
so.
Michael
having had a look on Transfermarkt, it does look like you were right. It was Brewster 1 season, but it was actually the season before that they brought McBurney in. But yeah, he were 18 and Brewster were 22. 40 million for 1 goal.
Yeah. Johnny Regan, some great points there from Michael. It looks like we might have lost Michael, so I'm just going to remove it. He's gone, yeah, totally, completely gone now. But yeah, look.
I can't believe you booted him out. You're well mean.
I didn't. He'd left, mate. He'd left. So look, when you sit and dissect things there, I know we've not really spoken about much about the actual performance in itself, because I think there's not a lot to take out of it other than the obvious positives we mentioned earlier with no serious injuries. And whatnot. When you sit and dissect what's potentially going on at this club, there's a lot more to think about than just shouting out and shouting off on Twitter or in a group chat about things not working because it doesn't suit you as a fan. We've got to really. Absolutely. I think he might be back. One sec. Are you back with us, Michael?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, well done, mate. You're back. Yeah, back with us. So the question I just asked you, really, before we let you shoot off, was what's the common denominator based on the 2 seasons being chalk and cheese, this season and last? Is there anything that you can identify which is as obvious as what people think?
I think we were a bit of an unknown quantity, and now with all the pro zone and analysis and all this experience of clubs playing us twice a season, I mean, they get an idea what we're about, and I think it's a mix of that. It's a mix of us being a bit light in midfield, and you look at clubs like, I don't know, Chelsea or even Arsenal, just like they've got probably about 8 good midfielders that can come in and out, or we've maybe, we're pushing. We've got great prospects coming through, but I just don't think they're ready for men's football or Premier League kind of fast-paced football, and it's a bit of a shame that we've had the injuries that have all come, but they come in the way that we're playing as well, and the way that we're trying, and the intent and the kilometre.
Yeah, sorry, Michael. We lost you there, but I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. Basically, yeah. We've been sort of worked out, and the class that we're playing against week in, week out isn't the championship standard. We've got players sitting on a bench that are probably worth the value of our squad. So in a nutshell, yeah, we're a bit of we were an unknown quantity. I think that matched with the amount of injuries we suffered this season as well has really made us struggle. Just one or two more quick comments we've had come in. Brendan's goes, HMG looking at freezing Abramovich's counterparts of sanctions against Russia. It's first I've heard. I have to be honest. I know there's three people of importance that have had theirs frozen, but we're not going to get too much into politics, hopefully, on this show because I'd rather not. Simon, some coaches, managers only have one way of playing and very, very rarely look at alternatives. That's kind of what I see with us, Luke. We 100% had the wrong approach tonight, and that lies with management. Yeah, look, I don't think we know how to play a different way. I think Bielsa's team are drilled and coached in a particular way to play, and I don't think, as you say, we're made to play with a certain type of intensity and style that identifies us. And yeah, I think it's spot on. I think some people don't get to change that, but I don't know if he has alternatives or if he prefers to play that way. I'm not sure. So yeah, good point. Best
so
of
just one for you then, Luke. So just looking at the form guide from the last 12 games. So we're in 14th, and below is a Leicester, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich, Everton, and Watford. So that's from the last 12 games. Now, in those 12 games, we've played Liverpool, the Scum, Arsenal, Chelsea, City. We have played the ESL teams. So, and we've Spurs to come. But what that actually means is that for the rest of the season, we're going to be playing against the sides that are in and around us. We've even played West Ham that are up there this season. In that time period, we're going to be playing the mid-table and lower table sides.
We've got some decent fixtures. We have got some decent fixtures coming up. I mean, there's no such thing as a good fixture in the Premier League because they're all tough. But when you look at the fixtures, we've got Spurs at home, who are rocky to say the least. They go out and beat City one week and
they've been shocking. They got beat 3 games on bounce and then beat City. They've been shocking until that.
Yeah, and then they've been beaten again tonight. We've got Leicester who are doing really poorly at the minute for whatever reason. And we've got Villa at home, Norwich at home, Wolves away, Southampton at home. All those games are winnable games. Do you know what I mean? They're games that last season we would have gone there and expected to get 3 points in all of those games.
The one thing I would say is that Wolves, when we played them, I think either side of our fixture, where I think we drew with them, they'd won the previous 3 and won the next 3. So ours was anomalous, and actually they're second in that form table. They're playing really well at the minute. Right. But Saints aren't a bad side either. But those are the clubs actually with our players back that I do expect us to get a result against. That might be a draw, it might be the odd goal win, but that's where I'm expecting us to get a result. Expecting us to get a result tonight is just the sort of entitlement that I hate in the ESL clubs.
Absolutely. I think that's where we could probably leave it. I mean, I think as fans, we just do need to be sort of quite sensible, switched on. I'm not going to tell you how to support the club because a lot of you have supported the club probably a lot longer than me and in various different ways to me. So I'm not telling anybody how to go and support their clubs or Leeds United, but just have a little bit of sensibility, I suppose, from time to time when we're thinking about when we sit and dissect it on a show like this. Then we actually can take into account and appreciate where things might not be going so right. So yeah, I don't know if you've got anything left to say, Gilly, before we go. Do you want to just play that really, really good chant from the weekend, even though we got beat by Scum?
I really don't, because we're going to get arrested.
I'll play it then.
You gotta sing for the funky widows. Ronaldo's a rapist, Messi's a rapist, Scott's sucking on so.
Can we just say that wasn't the podcast chanting, and these are allegations, and they've not been found guilty. So just these are not the views of the podcast.
Take it easy, everyone. Cheers for joining.
Ought to know better.
What the bloody hell was that?